Good morning. Welcome to this morning's session from EcoProd. I am just going to give this a moment to make sure that I have opened up the waiting room correctly and pressed all of the right buttons, so bear with me. Okay. So our session today, we're talking about ways to cut your water and energy costs with the Aguardio digital pipe and shower sensors. Before I hand over to our presenters and panelists, I've just got a few kind of housekeeping type points. You will notice as you join that you are muted automatically. That's just to prevent background noise and so on. So hopefully you can hear us, but we can't hear you. We do encourage questions though, please. So if you wiggle your mouse in the bottom of the black Zoom bar window at the bottom, the black bar at the bottom, there's a little Q&A button there. If you pop questions in there as they occur to you, I will cover what I can in the background as we're going along, but we also will all stay on the line at the end of the kind of formal presentation, and I'll read those questions out of our panel, and we'll have a bit of a panel discussion on, on your behalf and get your questions answered for you, one way or another. We're recording the session today as well, so once we're finished here, we'll get this all processed and we'll get it uploaded to our website, and you will get an email that has a link to the full video, including the Q&A, and also has a link to download the slides that we're using here. So all of the materials will be available to you afterwards so that you can, watch it again, share it with colleagues, etc. So you will have seen the agenda from the invitation that we sent to you, and hopefully it was interesting and that's why you booked. But we're going to do a few introductions and then we're going to talk really about what are these sensors and how they work. We're going to talk a little bit about leak detection and regulations, complying with regulations for temperature surveillance. We're going to talk a little bit about shower sensors and how those can help you reduce shower times, reduce energy, reduce water costs. Thomas is also going to cover some case studies talking about where these products are used, how quickly the kind of ROI and payback can take. And then we're going to talk a little bit more about kind of prevention of Legionella and so on. And then we move on to questions, as I said. So you have got four of us on this call today. I'm Rachel. I'm mostly in the background covering the questions, making sure people are logged in correctly. My colleagues are the actual hosts and presenters here. So I'll let them introduce themselves. So if we go left to right, Paul, do you want to go?
Yeah, good morning, everybody. My name's Paul. I'm Sales Director at EcoProd. I bring with me to the table 4 decades of working in the specification market on commercial projects, the last 3 decades specialising in water and trying to use innovative products to deliver solutions for clients.
Thank you, Paul. Morning, everyone. I'm Marcus Rose. I'm the founder of EcoProd, which basically means ecological or economical product. The whole emphasis here at EcoProd is water saving. The whole team here live, breathe water efficiency. We're a great team. And just to explain that my background is building services, I'm actually trained as a mechanical and electrical engineer. And now I'd like to introduce Thomas from Aguardio. Over to you, Thomas.
Good morning, everyone. So my name is Thomas Monk. I'm the founder of Aguardio, which is a company that has been almost 8 years on the market. As you may hear on my accent, I'm not a UK citizen. I'm a Dane living in Denmark, but we have a vast presence in the UK, and we've been working with EcoProd for quite some years now. My background is within engineering. I have been working with sustainable cities for a large Nordic utility. But with Aguardio, we have been working in a water efficiency space for quite some while, which I'm looking forward to explain more in details later on in this call.
Over to you, Paul.
Yeah, at EcoProd, we base our offering on the 3 pillars that you can see on the screen. Our approach with clients starts on a solid foundation where we try to understand their profile and understand how they can use less water, waste less water, reuse and recycle, and validate that, and also consider the issue of leaks as well, because leaks are as big as important as efficiencies. So we do this through a process of consultation and design and supply and support to the customer, but 3 key pillars for us. We also really carefully monitor what we call the circular economy. It's becoming a buzzword in the industry. What does it really mean? Well, the circular economy is key to our relationships with our manufacturing partners and our customers. And by adhering to the goals of the circular economy, we can ensure our partners and us together, we work to make sustainable management of water and protects. So again, whether you're manufacturing something or whether you're delivering a process in a building to a client, reducing water, reducing waste, innovating and recycling is really important, hence the circular economy. And I think we have a number of products that fit this perfectly and at the end of life are fully recyclable. So if you want to find out more, come and see us.
And we're also, just to explain, Paul, we're also all the time challenging in our supplier partner manufacturers, aren't we?
Absolutely.
With their own practice, so that we actually tie together in that circular economy promise.
Yeah, absolutely, Marcus. You're absolutely right. And it is a challenge that's ongoing. There's lots of goals that the SG6 goal for reducing water and making water available for everyone is key for governments. It's key for manufacturers. And again, where you control water in your own building at the moment is a mandatory requirement to take care of that. But at some point in the next couple of years, it will also be mandatory to take control of products coming in and how they affect your water use. So the circular economy and the SG6 goals from the United Nations is going to become more and more prominent in the next few years.
Thank you, Paul. And just to give the audience a snapshot of the clients we have here in the UK, as you can see, we have a very diverse customer base. We supply water-saving solutions into every industry sector. A lot of those names you will know. Some of them products is just products being taken for their own premises, or in terms of the names for facilities management, the whole wider scope of estates facilities. And also for some of those clients, we are actually just producing water strategy consultancy, which is another arm of the EcoProd offering, which is gathering momentum because water is now becoming a much more topical subject in terms of how it's used within properties. And to be quite honest, a lot of people have actually treated it as the poor relation in terms of energy supplies, but that is now changing, and clients are coming to us asking for specific advice around water consultancy, and we're helping them to write water strategy plans. I'm now going to hand over to Thomas, who's going to go through the main core of the presentation.
Thanks a lot, Marcus. And as you rightly said, despite the current weather, we do take water for granted, but this will probably change in a foreseeable future as water scarcity is becoming an increased challenge. And that is what we are trying to address at Aguardio. So you can say our mission is to make water saving easy. If you take the next slide, please. So one of the areas where we as individuals use a lot of our water consumption is in the bathroom or in toilets in general. So as you can see on the left side, especially taking a shower is a huge area where we waste or we use a lot of our water consumption. Sort of on average, water consumption in Europe is around 145 liters per day per individuals. So that goes to anything from taking a shower, using the toilet, brushing your teeth, washing your clothes, etc. But as you can see, a huge proportion of that water is being used in the bathroom. If you go beyond the household and you take let's say a hotel guest, on average, a hotel guest can use up to 500 liters of water on a daily basis. So yes, in the bathroom, there's a huge potential of reduced water consumption. So as you can see on the right side, we at Aguardio, we have developed some sensors that enable building owners to save water and energy. So if you take the next slide, please. So this is kind of the route. What is important to say here is that a huge important focus area for Aguardio when we founded the company is that we want to make installation as easy as possible. So both the shower sensor and the leak sensor is plug and play installation, which means that you don't need to cut any pipes in order to install the sensors. You don't need to call a plumber either, which is very important in order to roll this out both in new but also legacy buildings. If you take the next slide. So as previously shown on a previous slide, we have developed two sensors. The first one is what we call the Aguardio shower sensor. Its main objective is to motivate, even nudge users to take shorter showers. Basically, what you do is you take the shower sensor, it looks like this, not very big. You install it on the shower cubicle on the wall using this double adhesive tape. What it does is it tells you how long time you have spent under the shower, which means you come from being unaware to now you're aware. The sensor inhales or have 4 sensors installed in it. So there is a movement sensor. So we kind of look for movement within a diameter of 1 meter. Then there is a sound sensor. So we're listening after the sound of running water. Very important to say here is that we cannot store any other sounds. We're listening for the frequency of running water. Then there is a humidity sensor and a temperature sensor. These 4 sensors enable us to identify now a person is taking a shower, and then the device or the display turns into a clock. And it's deliberately we're using time, as time is universally understanding of what it is. Does it work? Well, we have done several deep research studies with the University of Surrey, where we have demonstrated that just by installing the shower sensor in a shower cubicle, you will reduce your average shower time with more than 20%, which is more than 1 minute. If you then add gamification, you can increase that shower saving or that reduced shower time by up to 35% or more than 2 minutes. Gamification could be, let's say you install this in a hotel, then you place a sticker beside it, and then you say, by the way, did you know the average shower time in this hotel last month was 7 minutes? I'm not saying you have to take a 7-minute long shower. I'm just telling you what others have done. It's a very strong way to motivate people to take shorter showers. Again, important to say here is we don't compromise on the comfort. There will be no annoying sound. There will be no flickering light or anything. And we don't cut off the water because we're not a part of the water installation. So that's in very principle how the Aguardio shower sensor work. We work, I already mentioned hotels. We work especially with student accommodation, which we have done several projects around that in the UK. If you take the next slide, please. The other sensor is what we call the Aguardio pipe sensor. It looks like this. It looks very small. What you do here is you take a strip and then you strip it around a water pipe. So what the sensor does, it looks for water activity. How do we know that there is a water activity in a water pipe? We look for temperature difference. So if you see here, that you can actually see there is a gray pad. That gray pad is in direct contact with the water pipe. So it's constantly measuring what is the temperature of the water pipe. In the other end, there is another temperature sensor that is measuring what is the ambient temperature of the room. Now, if there isn't any water activity at all, the pipe temperature and the ambient temperature will be more or less aligned. Versus if there is a kind of an activity, you will see a temperature delta T, because the water that flows through the pipe has a different temperature than the ambient temperature. That's how we identify something is leaking. We see a constant delta T. But if you train your sensor, you can actually also count toilet flushes. And if you are looking for stagnated water or water with no activity, what is important for you here is what is the temperature of that water pipe over time. I will come into that later on in the slides as well. So the main focus area of this sensor is leaking toilets. You place it on your wash basin where you look for water activity related to people washing their hands. But you can also place it in other water pipes within a building where you look for leaks and stagnated water. If you take the next slide, please. So how do we collect data? So the sensors themselves, both the shower sensor and the pipe sensor or the leak sensor, uses BLE or Bluetooth. So you can extract data from a sensor either by using a mobile phone app, an Aguardio app, which then use the phone as a gateway, or you can use physical gateways, which looks like this, who has a SIM card in it, and then it calls home once per 24 hours and deliver data to the Aguardio hub. So again, we want to make it as easy as possible. The reasons why we're using BLE or Bluetooth is to prolong the battery lifetime of the sensors. So the estimated battery lifetime of the pipe sensor is more than 8 years. We actually see cases that talks about 10 to 12 years in our test environment. But we say on average 8 years. The shower sensor is around 3 to 5 years, depending on how often it's being used. In the shower sensor, you can change the battery. There is a button cell battery. You can ask yourself, well, is leaking toilet, as an example, is that a challenge? Well, I can disclose that we see on average around 15% of all toilets are leaking at a given time. So yes, leaking toilet is a massive contributor of water waste. We also see what we call, and I put it in bracket, ghost toilets. That is toilets that is leaking on and off. That is due to minerals or lime scale in the water supply that can force a toilet to start leaking. But once you make a toilet flush, you will flush out that lime scale flake and then it will stop leaking. But for us, that's a first indication that you want to kind of maintenance that toilet. We call it predictable maintenance because wear and tear of the internal mechanics have demonstrated its ability to actually start becoming a leaking toilet. If you take the next slide. So hygiene sensor. So as also mentioned in the introduction, we also use the sensor to identify what we call stagnated water, which is basically water pipes with no activity over a time period. So what we do here is we're monitoring what is the temperature of that water pipe, and then we monitor that over time. Once it reaches a certain threshold, we then notify the facility manager. We suggest that you flush this pipe in order to reduce the risk of Legionella being built up. Again, depending on your own criteria, we can set up these thresholds within the Aguardio system of which temperature range you're looking for, but also the time period that you want to have the notifications from. And we can definitely sense that de-risking Legionella has becoming an increased topic for many facility owners, especially past the current energy crisis, where lots of buildings have reduced their energy consumption and the hot water temperatures. If you take the next slide, please. So again, this is a quick view of the Aguardio hub related to the hygiene sensor. Again, in that Aguardio hub, you can set your own thresholds. You will have an easy overview of the status of the sensors, and we will send you notification if a sensor has surpassed your settings or your thresholds. So you will have an opportunity to take an action on that specific water outlet. We will also make digital reports that we will send to you, which you can use when you have to document the status of your sensors or your water pipes over time. And so that will all be available in the Aguardio hub. Everything is happening in the cloud, and you will have your own access point where you can overview your own shower or your own sensors in that cloud-based hub.
It's good to point out, isn't it, Thomas, that hub operates on a traffic light system?
Yes,
So somebody can see instantly what's compliant and what isn't.
exactly.
So it's very straightforward to operate and manage.
Exactly. And that's really the philosophy of Aguardio, to make it as simple as possible, and also to notify the facility manager if there is a problem. So that's very important for us, to be as simple as possible. In the Aguardio hub, in case you want to access for some reason raw data from a sensor, you will also be able to do that. The Aguardio hub in itself can also communicate with other platforms via an API. So again, multiple user cases or opportunities with the data from the Aguardio sensors. If you take the next slide. So as Rachel mentioned in the beginning, we have several use cases. These are two of them. One of them is a remote fire station case that we have done together with EcoProd, which has been very, very interesting, and which has shown some great results, which is leading to a potential rollout to that region's fire stations. The other one is a case in Denmark, at a school case, where they were looking for stagnated water, especially in the vacation period. But another use case in that specific case is also looking at the toilet flush behavior among the students, because one of the challenges that in Danish schools is that the students don't use the toilet, so they hold themselves until they come home, because they regard the toilet as being non-hygienic. But by having data around toilet flush usage, they can now better engage with the students, talking about the need for you to use the toilet, and also to optimize the cleaning routines around the toilet, which now is related to the number of toilet flushes rather than being cleaned by procedures, which has increased the hygiene level of these school cases as well. So that's another use case around the pipe sensor. If you take the next slide. So again, I already talked about this. So there are multiple ways to get data from the sensors. There is multiple data points in the Aguardio hub. I mentioned a few of them. If you also have the Aguardio shower sensor installed, you will also have data around what is the humidity level within the bathroom, what is the temperature level within the bathroom. That can be used in order to de-risk the development of mold in certain bathrooms. As another case study or case around the use of the Aguardio sensor data points. If you take the next slide. Again, these are some of the segments and some of the customers we have been working with within Aguardio. As you can see here, our main focus is what we call B2B segments. So that's hospitality. It's a big area for us. Housing association, and especially student accommodation in the UK is another big focus area for us. But we also been working with public buildings, municipalities, etc. We have been on the UK market for more than six years. We have done projects with Anglian Water, a big housing association project in Northampton. We have been currently working with Northumbrian Water and Southern Water. So again, we have many reference cases from the UK. As you can see, we've also been working a little bit with L'Oréal. So you can ask yourself, why is L'Oréal interested in Aguardio? Well, it's all related to shower behavior. where we actually found out in that study that the hardness of the water actually has an influence on your shower time length. The more softer the water is, the longer it takes to rinse out shampoo from your hair. We also found out here, and this is more like a fun fact, that those who take the longest showers in a household is not female, is not women and girls, it's actually men and boys. Why is that? Because men and boys, they don't turn off the water when soaping up, where this is more a predominant behavior among women and girls. So again, it's an interesting fun fact. Also, we can also see that the shortest showers is in the morning and not in the afternoon, which maybe also makes sense in most daily cases. If you take the next slide. So to kind of summarize it all up, we have also been working a lot with GGNB, LEED and BREEAM. So in case that is important for you, we have documentation around that, how to gain points related to these certificates. Again, on the right side, you can see sort of estimated return on investment. These are from Danish cases, where especially water prices and discharge to the wastewater system is somewhat higher than what it is in the UK. I would say on UK average, it's around a little bit more than a year. Again, depending on local conditions and utility costs. If you take the next slide.
Thomas, do you just want to touch on the Solar Impulse accreditation?
Yeah. Oh, thanks for mentioning that. So, we have been part of the Solar Impulse scheme for more than 4 years. So it is an initiative taken by a guy called Picard, and I can't pronounce his surname, is a Swiss entrepreneur. He was the one that flew around the world in a balloon. Now, this initiative is around to identify solutions that can help the planet become more sustainable. So they have scattered the world and they have discovered, I think now they have like 1,500 solutions that can help cities, building owners to become more sustainable. So for us, it's been a recognition of what we're doing when it comes to helping clients reduce water consumption. So that's, you can say, a stamp that others has also valued our solution as being quite efficient when it comes to reducing water and energy consumption in buildings. So that's something that we definitely are very proud of. Again, I already touched upon some of these. Important to say in this slide is that often the sensors themselves cannot stand alone. It's about providing the guidance to make the choices easy among the users. So in the bottom, you can see some different additional interventions related to stickers or even door hangers, where we kind of try to grasp the attention of the user and then try to nudge them to change their behavior. Some of them are related to toilet flush behavior. So as you may, when you recall your own behavior, some of these toilet flushes can be unnecessarily. So here we try to avoid those unnecessarily toilet flushes, like flushing out waste, which basically is about telling the user only to use the toilet what it's meant for, and not as a trash can, in order to save water. Again, the other ones is related to take shorter showers. So we kind of gamify that. And again, the right side is related to that hotel guests actually see these initiatives in a positive way and they actually rate the hotels higher after they have been engaged with Aguardio sensors in a hotel room. So again, it's about becoming a positive way for hotel guests or users in general to reduce water consumption and energy consumption in bathrooms. If you take the next slide. So again, to kind of summarize it all up, what we say in Aguardio is Aguardio goes slow on the H2O.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thanks very much. I have got a few questions that have come in. If anyone else wants to ask a question, please could you pop it in the little Q&A button at the bottom of the Zoom window. So Thomas, this is possibly for you. I've got a couple of questions about pipes. So do you need to cut the pipes to install the sensors? If it clips on, what is the maximum pipe size that the clip can fit to?
Good questions. The first one is quite easy. You don't have to cut any pipes, as this is a kind of a clamp on. Again, imagine this is your pipe. Imagine this is the sensor. So you just strip it around. So no cutting off the pipes. You can see here kind of an indication of the pipe size. So yes, there are obviously, with larger pipes, there are some limitations around that. We are currently investigating how large sizes we can be fitted on. But I would say sort of on average, regards your internal water pipes as the limitations of the sizes that we can be clamped on. I hope that
at the moment, Thomas, in the UK, we're up to 28 mil OD copper tube is the maximum at the moment.
Yeah, and we have seen some projects where we've been installed on those sizes, which has been working quite well.
Okay, thank you. Then I've got some questions about the data. So how granular is the data that you can get out? Can it tell you precisely where a leak is? How easy is the data to get out? And are there ongoing costs for the data?
Yeah, so
I've grouped questions together. Sorry, that wasn't all one question.
No, that's absolutely fine. So the pipe sensor in itself can identify leaks down to around 3 to 4 liters per hour. So that's obviously often related to a leaking toilet, where you hardly can see that toilet is leaking. But if you place a toilet tissue on the backside of the pan, then you can see it's getting wet. So we can identify leaks down to that level. We place a timestamp on it. So we kind of timestamp when we see a stage change or water activity starts. All these raw data, all these data points you can access in the Aguardio hub. We touch upon a little bit on accessing data and how to access data. So as mentioned, the sensors themselves are based on Bluetooth. So as of it is right now, there are 2 ways to extract data from the sensor. So there's either using a mobile phone as a kind of a gateway. So you will have to download an Aguardio app. And then when you are in Bluetooth vicinity, the phone will extract the data from the sensor and then push that data to the cloud. Or you can install the Aguardio gateway, which is done in most cases, where it automatically transfer the data to the cloud. I mentioned to Paul and Marcus this morning that we will soon also have a new way to use existing gateway infrastructure in some cases, as we are about to become a certified partner to what is called Aruba Access Point Network. It's a company owned by Hewlett Packard. This is a new way to extract data from the sensors as well. When it comes to cost, I will recommend you to reach out to Paul and Marcus, because they can explain in greater detail how the structure look like.
Can I just add something there as well? From a design point of view, if you want to know more detail about where your leaks are occurring or monitoring temperature, the more devices you install, the more accurate data you provide us on the location. So it might be building 1, level 5, toilet 1, hot water tap, toilet 1. It could be anything. So it's a bit like a design of a fire alarm system. So you address each device individually. And the more clarity you give to that, the more accurate the actual hub will report back to you.
Exactly.
Thank you. I've got a question about the data if you're using this for hygiene and temperature monitoring. How robust is the data for hygiene and temperature monitoring if I was going to use it for an audit?
Yeah, I'll take that one on. Yeah, it's extremely accurate. We've got some case studies which we've worked with other clients where we've actually validated the recordings of the temperatures on the sensors that have been recorded on the hub. The client has actually taken action themselves where they've gone down with some sophisticated thermal temperature machinery and qualified that our temperature readings are accurate. The key for any temperature monitoring is the parameters that are set up at the beginning and the time stamping. So what I mean by that is if you have a site where you want your hot water to be above 50 degrees and your cold water below 20, then that will be the parameters that we set. And during the period of time, whether that's a week or a month, depending on what business you're running, we again set that time so that we will capture a hot tap running and capture the hottest tap temperature that we can. And that will do two things. One, it will provide you that your hot water system's doing its job and providing the temperatures where they should be. And you can validate that in an audit and you can download that as a report. And the other thing is it will also tell you as a preventative situation if your hot water source is not actually providing the outputs that you expect in the first place. And we've actually experienced that with one site already this year. So it's very accurate. And again, it can validate audits without a problem at all.
So the question there is about, I think, getting the data out. If you're a building or facilities manager or something and you need to get the data out in order to provide an audit trail of your checks.
Absolutely. It can all be
comes out
downloaded
in a reportable format.
It does indeed, Rachel. And I think going back to the traffic light system on the pub as well, you could actually walk into your office. If you open up the hub, you will actually see through the traffic light system whether things have actually achieved the parameters as well. So again, that information can be downloaded. We can arrange for monthly reports to be sent, or the client can download and extrapolate that data themselves.
Okay, thank you. How does this technology work with smart water meters?
Good, very good question.
Who's taking that one?
Do you want to take that, Thomas, and I'll support you?
Yeah. So obviously, a smart water meter will become even better and better to identify micro leakage within a property. But it can only tell you that there is something leaking. It cannot tell you exactly where. Obviously, they can have some guesstimates because often a micro leakage is related to a toilet. But I already mentioned in my introduction the phenomenon, what we call ghost toilets. So what you can see with the rollout of smart water meters is false positive notification that will be related to ghost toilets that is leaking on and off. The reason why I'm saying this is that we have seen in Denmark several cases where the property owner actually have switched off the notification because they actually gained quite a lot of notifications and they could not find where that leakage were. Now, obviously, when you have the Aguardio pipe sensors installed, you can easily find out if that leak is related to that toilet or if it's not related to that toilet, which give you other information. Then you might have a leakage somewhere else in your building. So So right now we are having some dialogues with some water utilities around combining smart water meter data with Aguardio pipe sensor data in order to better qualify where leaks are within a property. I don't know if you want to add something to that, Marcus.
No, just to say that it's work in progress, isn't it? It's a subject that we've been discussing. We need to actually engage. I mean, there needs to be some correlation between various parties to make it an actuality, but it's definitely a piece of R&D that's gathering momentum here in the UK.
Yeah. And
Okay,
I can
thank
also
you.
disclose that we are in dialogue with some of the smart water meter manufacturers.
Okay, I've got one more. Have the panel had any success applying for grants for water saving? We've had success applying for grants for energy saving, but have never tried for water saving.
You want to take that, Paul?
Yeah, at EcoProd, we work very closely with some of the wholesale water companies. And the consequence of that is there is funding available for water efficiencies. Off the top of my head, I think we've delivered 3, maybe 4 projects where we've gathered funding in the last 12 months for our clients. It's done on a business case where you can actually identify an improvement in water reduction, and you submit a form with a business case that we do on the client's behalf after understanding all of the site conditions, what's required, what materials are needed, what labour is required. We put that together as a package. We do a write-up to the water companies, and along with that, we do a profile of the client. And depending on the profile of a client and what they're doing, things like community activity always gets a big tick and support as well. So it's a case by case. It's not guaranteed, but we can work through the process with the client to put a business case together to get what I'd say is a contribution. It's not full 100% funding, but it can be a contribution, and everyone is measured on its own merits. There's normally a short window to actually do the submissions. I can tell you at the moment we're working with Southern Water, and the latest 3-month window closes towards the Christmas time, and we're trying to get submissions in for clients for that. So again, come and talk to us. We'll look at your location. We'll look at the wholesale water company, not the retailer, and we can make those applications on your behalf if it's appropriate.
Also need to point out, Paul, that the reporting is quite stringent, isn't it? There has to be pre and post accuracy so that your water efficiency can be absolutely established 100%.
Absolutely, Marcus, you're spot on.
Okay, I think that is everything that I've got that's come in. So thank you very much, everybody, for attending. As I said at the beginning, we will get this packaged up and processed and loaded onto our website. We will get an email out to you as soon as we can that gives you access to the full recording and these slides that will be available there for you to download as well. Thank you very much to our panel. Really great discussion. Thank you very much for contributing, and we hope to see you on another session sometime soon. Thank you.
Thanks, Thomas. Thanks,
Thank you,
Marcus.
Thomas. Thank you, Rachel.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.